Yeah, part skipping in the Jojo community is a major no-no. There are a fair amount of obvious reasons why this is the case. I mean, purposely skipping canon plot points is naturally going to lead viewers into confusion. And when I say part skipping, I'm mostly referring to people skipping parts 1 and 2, though I've also encountered people who have skipped out on Stone Ocean as well, which, why? Also, before I delve into this topic matter, I should address that no, I don't have personal hate towards anyone with a passion who is a part skipper. These are just my opinions and my opinions only. Okay, enough rambling. Without further ado, let's get started. In order to discuss Jojo part skipping, first we need to talk about why this can occur in the first place. Well, frankly, the main reason this occurs is due to the fact many find part 1, well, let's just say lackluster, or at least compared to the rest of the series. And yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. Part 1 ranks on the bottom of many lists, but that still isn't a fair enough reason to skip out. Sure, Phantom Blood isn't top tier, but it's pretty short, only 9 episodes in fact, and afterwards part 2 is awesome and fun. Honestly, it's just being patient. To continue on, another reason why an individual may want to skip parts is that Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency don't necessarily have an extreme direct connection with part 3 and onwards. So in a sort of sense, there's no need to watch. Sure, true, but isn't that, for example, the case with every other part? Part 4 barely has any correlation with Vento Rayo, aside from a few select cameo appearances. The same can also be said about part 5 to 6 as well. But one thing that is super important is getting the overall background knowledge. Okay, prime example. Do you guys remember the Speedwagon Foundation? Of course you do. Within part 3 and onwards, pretty much the original Jojo universe, they play a decent role in controlling things in the background and helping out our main protagonists, etc.
There's no time! We leave immediately! We can trust them. They're doctors from the Speedwagon Foundation. They're going to stay with her and take care of Holly around the clock.
I mean, on face value, this doesn't really sound like anything special, but as someone who watched that, part 3 specifically, for the first time right after part 2, that just amazed me. I'm like, wow, they actually remembered. The Speedwagon Foundation came back. That's great. That's amazing. I mean, like, Speedwagon, in a sense, lives on to help out the Joestars. Okay, now let's look on the flip side of things. Someone who hasn't watched Battle Tendency or Phantom Blood is not going to understand this at all. There's no hype behind it. Because they don't have any knowledge whatsoever of the Speedwagon Foundation. In a sort of sense, it almost to them may seem like a plot hole, like, oh, what are these sudden doctors? Where did they get these doctors to help out Holly? They wouldn't understand those little nuances that really add up to build this universe up. And you know what? Speaking of Speedwagon, what sacrilegious monstrosity is it to not experience Speedwagon? It blows my mind. Also, side note, check out my Speedwagon video down below. Sorry, I just can't get over that. Like, while I'm writing this, I'm waving my hands around like a fool, trying to reason a world with no Speedwagon. Even worse, if you decide to skip out on parts 1 and 2, no Zeppellis until part 7. What? Until Steel Ball Run? That's just way too late at that point. Look, Gyro Zeppeli is amazing as a character. I can go on and on about this, but when I first found out about Gyro being in part 7, I absolutely freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, another Zeppeli is making an appearance? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Again, let's look on the flip side of things. If you haven't read parts 1 and 2, there's no hype. There's no comparison between the original Zeppelis and this new Zeppeli. As a result, you lose the awesome, momentous build-up of learning all about this new character. And if that's the case, my apologies. That's just really sad and disappointing. Again, this is why I'm saying this background knowledge I keep mentioning is extremely important for situations like these. There is an amazing legacy that is passed down within Speedwagon, within the Zeppelis, and even more characters that you're going to be missing out on. Examples include young Joseph, super fun, energetic character that leaves a legacy within parts 3 and 4. And hell, even Dio. Have having this background knowledge from Phantom Blood gives him a much better motive in part 3, and again, in the same vein as the Zeppelins, it's extremely hyped to see Dio return to the spotlight again. But once again, if you decide to skip all this content, the excitement is lost. Furthermore, skipping part 2 is a major disservice. It's extremely enjoyable to watch and probably the most replayable part to experience again. It sort of stands on its own, no pun intended, but in a very good way. To wrap my thoughts up, I'll go on this tangent. I think that the earlier parts, including 1 and 2, age like fine wine, and I know that sounds kind of strange, but hear me out. Simply put, I believe looking back in retrospect, especially from part 6, or even when you're currently reading to the most recent chapter within part 8, you just naturally learn over time to appreciate the more humble, simple beginnings of Jojo at its early start. And just taking 3 steps back and looking at it through a different perspective, I believe that Jojo is just one big history book, and I kind of like thinking about it that way. Seeing it through this light definitely encourages you to not skip any parts whatsoever. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end things right here and there. If I go any longer, then I feel like I'm gonna be rambling on. But yeah, what did you guys think at the end of the day? Do you agree with my points that part skipping is a big no-no? Heck, are you even a part skipper? Please put your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. I would really love to hear what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button, slap that like button, you know the good stuff. Also, while you're there, go check out my Twitch down below. I stream about 4 days out of the week, and go check out my Instagram as well. Nevertheless, thank you guys so much for making it to the very end of the video. I 100% appreciate it, and have an absolutely wonderful day.